audio.
Yeah, I'm using another device for my audio. Is it not in sync?
It is.
All right, that's fine.
Hello guys, am I audible?
Very good. Now,
Yes.
excellent.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. I don't know what was happening. I could hear people talk 3 times. Okay, I'll just quickly share my screen. Sorry again. Okay.
Now it is very clear.
Thankfully, I can hear, single time. Thank you so much. And yeah, let us begin the meeting. So, welcome to one and all to the 70th meeting of Andheri Orators Toastmaster Club, one of the best clubs that you will ever see. And I would like to start this meeting on a very positive note by wishing TTM Abraham Samuel a very happy birthday. He is 69 years old, but he is, someone rightly said in the meeting that he doesn't look a day over 30. And yes, he's just as
Thank you.
lively as, yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for being an invaluable member. All right, so let us first start with the mission of a Toastmaster Club and why we are here. So, we provide a supporting and positive learning experience to all our members to develop communication skills and leadership skills that results in greater self-confidence and personal development. So that is why we are here, and that is why we take some time off your weekend to ensure that these are some of the skills that our members can improve upon. I would request, I'll just give about 10 seconds to all our role players to kindly rename themselves according to what you see on your screen. So if you're the master of ceremony, you're going to rename yourself as MOC, your first name and last name. Similarly, another example is, the way I've written. First, write your role and then your first name and last name. So I'll just give 10 seconds to all the role players to do that, please. All right, moving on. Some general instructions so that our meeting can go on very smoothly. Please avoid unmuting yourselves and cross-talking in the middle of the session. Kindly put your noise-making devices on silent mode. And if you're uncomfortable being recorded, please let the Sergeant at Arms, which is me, know as we're recording this meeting at the moment. To speak or to ask any questions, raise your hand on video, or you can click the raise hand button and it'll be addressed after the educational session is done and complete. Each role player will get 30 seconds to check their audio, video, and light. So I recommend people to please check that first and then begin talking. Please be cognizant of the time, as following and being on time is extremely important. So if you're running late, please let us know so that we can accommodate you. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, why you interrupted, I don't know.
I got disconnected. I don't know. Okay, did everyone hear me? Sanchit, where did you hear me till?
You were on the slide about the second last slide.
Okay. Sorry, a lot of technical glitches happening today. All right, so I'll just share the second last slide again while giving the instruction. Is my screen visible, Sanchit?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. To speak or to ask questions, I request you all to raise your hand on video or click on the raise hand option on Zoom, and it will be addressed post the educational session. Each role player will get 30 seconds to check their audio, video, and light. Kindly be cognizant of time, and audiences are requested to keep their video on as far as possible in order to make the session more interactive. Now, I would like to hand it over to the Master of Ceremony, Toastmaster Fariha Sheikh, who is a first-year student in an engineering college and who enjoys public speaking and reading. Over to you, Master of Ceremony, Toastmaster Fariha.
I would like to test my audio. Am I audible?
Yes.
There are three kinds of feedback, and organizations must utilize all three to be effective: evaluation, coaching, and appreciation. Most respected audience, I welcome you all to today's educational session. Confidence is critical to give a killer presentation. Without it, you'll make your audience uncomfortable by appearing nervous and unsettled. You won't be able to focus on excellent delivery. But here at Toastmasters, we not only boost your confidence by motivating you to take up roles and deliver speeches publicly, but we also help perfect your skills by positively evaluating and critiquing your performance. Evaluations help determine what works well and what could be improved in a program or an initiative. Evaluation not just boosts your confidence, but also makes you believe in your abilities as you learn just how capable you are and the extent to which you can extend your abilities. Today, we are gathered here to learn more about the art of evaluation. But before we begin, I would like to call upon some of our guests who have joined us today. May I call upon guest Yusuf Salim to the stage? Kindly confirm your presence.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Thank you for joining us today. Yusuf, how did you find out about this event?
Well, I was actually approached by a few Toastmaster people in the group itself. So they told me that there is an event that's going down, and I said I'd love to be a part of it.
That's so great to hear. Let me ask you, how do you think evaluations help us in our daily life?
Well, firstly, I feel like evaluation teaches us what the consequences of our actions are. And over time, it helps us deduce the right actions for us, which reap the results which we desire, and the ones that we can actually stay away from, which will, harm our progress in life, whatever it may be for us.
That's
it
true.
Also helps us in accountability as well, giving you more authority and control over your own destiny, so to speak.
That's a very strong point that you made. Have you had any previous experience with Toastmasters earlier?
I have actually. I was a part of Toastmasters Aloha Club in KFUPM in Saudi Arabia. I did my Toastmasters for about a year from 2017 to 2018. And yeah, operated on a pretty local level, to be honest. Never really got to climb the ladders.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much for sharing your opinions. May I call upon guest Atik to the stage? Kindly confirm your presence.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Is the background okay? I forgot to change it.
It's perfect. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, you're welcome for it.
How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. It's a Sunday. I'm chilling.
Okay. How did you hear about this event?
I actually had never heard of Toastmasters, and I got introduced to it by a friend, and she's pretty active in the circles. So, and she told me about this event that's going on, and she specified that it's about public speaking and personal development. And since I'm into public speaking for a while, I was very interested. I decided to just join in.
That's okay. So for today, our theme is the art of evaluation. Mm-hmm. So what is your personal opinion on the art of evaluation? And how do you think it would help a person?
Correct. So when it comes to evaluation, I feel personally I depend on other people or even myself to evaluate what I do and give me a different perspective on it, because I feel perspective is one of the things that helps us grow as a person immensely, and that's where evaluation comes in from me. There are some things that I may not see about my work that others may see, and that matters to me, since that feedback or that evaluation may help me develop my own style and form my own kind of niche and develop my personality further, basically.
You've made some really strong points, and all of them are super valid. Have you had any previous experience with Toastmasters earlier?
No, actually, as I said, I didn't even know that Toastmasters was a thing. The only context I have is when this person explained to me that Toastmasters is similar to this Rotaract that we have in India. So that's where I got the context from. It's not completely similar, but I kind of got the point from it. So yeah, I don't have any previous Toastmasters experience.
That's great to hear. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Varya.
May I call upon guest Farhan Khan? Kindly confirm your presence.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. How are you doing today, Farhan?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
How did you hear about this event?
A friend told me about it, and she asked me if I'm interested in seminars about public speaking and evaluation. So I was like, why not?
That's great. So, according to today's theme, what is your opinion on evaluation? How do you think it is going to help us in our daily life?
So I think what Yusuf said and what Atik said were actually very strong and great points. And what I think is that actually evaluation, it helps you take constructive criticism better and without feeling attacked, and it helps you find the underlying flaws, and it just helps you become a better person.
That's right. You've made some very valid points. Have you had any previous experience with Toastmasters before?
I've never been a part of it, but I keep hearing about it from my friend. She talks about it a lot.
Thank you. That's so great to hear. Looking forward to seeing you in further events.
Yes.
It was great to hear your opinions on the art of evaluation. Moving on to the highlight of today's session, let me begin by introducing our special guest for the day. Today, we are blessed with the company of him. He is a product manager by profession and a public speaker by passion. He has been working in the IT sector for more than 8 years and has trained over 1,000 corporate and community audiences over the past 2 years. Not only has he been a guest speaker at leading educational institutions, but he has also hosted national conferences for global audiences. Maintaining the awe I now observe on your faces, let us welcome distinguished Toastmaster Pramod Mohandas. The DTM Pramod has worked closely with Toastmasters International. He served as a club president, area director, assistant division director, and also as a marketing and training head. He is certified as a distinguished Toastmaster, having completed various certifications in communication and leadership. Before we proceed, I would like to remind everyone present here that after this session, we will be having a very interactive question and answer session where you will be able to send questions either via the chat box, either publicly or to me in private. And DTM Pramod will be answering all of your questions. This will help us avoid interruptions while he's speaking. He is here today to share his expertise and experiences with us. To enable him to do so, I shall now hand over this virtual platform to DTM Pramod. The stage is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Toastmaster Faria. Good morning to all the Toastmasters and the guests present at the meeting. I'm Toastmaster Pramod Mohandas. And in the next 35 to 40 minutes, we're going to walk through on the art of evaluation. How do you evaluate specifically at a Toastmasters meeting? How do we evaluate speeches? And via the act and the art of evaluating speeches, how does that transcend to our real life? How does it transcend to our professional lives? And how does it translate to us as a person? Before we begin the session, quick one-word check-in. How are you guys today? How's the Sunday treating you? In the chat box or against your name, quick one-word check-in. I see wonderful, awesome. What else? Boring. Rohit says boring. Rohit hopefully will have some excitement in the next half an hour or so. Lazy. Yeah, I can resonate to that. Sahil. Amazing, says Nikita. Exhausted, says Puneet. Puneet, what did you do? Did you like have a Saturday night binge watching?
I was working on content till 5:30 in the morning.
No wonder you're exhausted. What else? Anyone else? Anyone were checking? Bored out of my mind due to the lockdown. Yeah, I think a lot of us can resonate to that, Purnima. But let's try and make at least the next half an hour to 45 minutes exciting, looking at the art of evaluation. So when we look at the art of evaluation, first I'll want to set the context of the session so you know what's coming. What we're going to do is we're going to split the session into 4 parts. We're going to look at what do we do as a preparation towards evaluation at a Toastmasters meeting. What do we do during the meeting while we look at the speaker and observe the speaker? How do we present the evaluation, which is the third part? And the final part would be what are the good practices that we do after a meeting, after the evaluation is done. So 4 parts to the session. And as we speak on each of these 4 parts, we're going to also see how does it translate into our life, real life, professional life, relationships. And what I'll also do is, instead of taking all your questions right at the end, because it might get a bit overwhelming to accumulate a lot of queries off the top of your mind, you can feel free to interrupt me and ask questions right then, right there. And I'll be more than happy to answer them as we look at certain slides. All right. Now jumping into the session, I will share my screen now. And I would also thank Atik. When Atik said that evaluation in life is just a perspective. When someone else sees me in a way that I cannot see myself, and from that perspective, I learn, I get better. That was a fantastic segue to the beginning of the presentation, where even I believe that evaluation is a perspective of someone towards what you do. And that perspective helps you align to the person, helps you satisfy your audience as a public speaker. And through that, you learn the variety of needs, demands that any of your audiences have, and you evolve as a speaker. You suit more people. You can cater to the mindsets of a variety of people around the world. And that's how evaluation eventually helps us grow as speakers specifically. And as a person, when you go into your corporate lives, personal lives, even when you want to lead. Now, when it comes to evaluation, again, let's go back into the chat window. One word checking. How do you think the evaluation should be? So this one word that comes to my mind is constructive. What else does come to your mind?
Motivating.
Specific. Okay.
I was critical.
Yes, critical. Ishta says pretty. What else? I hope Srinivas, when he said good photo, he did not mean about the evaluation. Encouraging. Okay. Anyone else? Guys, do you believe that the people nowadays have become very sensitive to anything that is evaluative or critical? Do you see a lot of backlash on social media, even otherwise in conversations, when you try to suggest something to someone which they are not ready for?
Yes.
I think the need of the hour today in the world, and we've heard so many things about evaluations, right? Back in the day, we've heard evaluation should be constructive feedback. Evaluation should be constructive criticism. But the moment you use the word criticism or feedback, people get defensive nowadays, very sensitive. So maybe a new perspective I'd like to introduce today in the meeting for us to even ponder upon in the next 30 minutes is, what if the evaluations that you gave, the feedback that you gave, was of the flavor constructive appreciation? And I'll repeat, it is constructive and it's appreciation. So it involves a value of improvement, as well as it involves a value of validation through the appreciation. So let's see, if we had to look at evaluation as a constructive appreciation, how would we go about it? To begin with, what would you do right at the beginning of the meeting? So now, to the uninitiated and guests at the meeting, at Toastmasters, in every meeting, the members rehearse, practice, write down speeches as one part of the meeting, where you have to come in and deliver your prepared speeches. And that's called the prepared speeches round. And when the speakers deliver these project speeches as part of their certification program at Toastmasters, there is an evaluator designated for each of the speaker in the meeting, who comes in and delivers the evaluation for the delivered speech. Now, once you have this context, any questions, any guests on this context, so that you will be able to understand what we're discussing clearly? I see there are a few of us, right, who joined for the first time here. If you don't have any questions, I think I know Yusuf, Atik, who have joined for the first time. If you guys don't have any questions, we'll proceed to what do we do typically right before a speech. Now, looking at evaluations or feedback, the first thing that comes to your mind is preparation. Even as an evaluator, are you well prepared to deliver that evaluation for a speaker today? The context is, even in real life, out there as leaders or as people, when we want to give suggestion to people's feedback to others, the one thing that we know, that there is a lot of inherent hard work that someone has put up to come there. So in case of Toastmasters, you know that there's a speaker who has written a speech, who has rehearsed it with their mentor, who have practiced it further, formulated certain nuances, and now is very excited to deliver that speech. As an evaluator, am I putting in that effort to do my homework before the speech, before the meeting, to practice, to look at a few points and see, as an evaluator, I do justice to someone else's preparation? So the first thing that is strongly recommended, and these are mere recommendations that I have come up with through the experience that I have had at Toastmasters. So you can feel free to add on, you can feel free to clarify if something is ambiguous. Reading through the project from the online resources. So at Toastmasters, when you know that you're going to evaluate somebody's project 3 speech from level 2, we know that we have to read about the resources. At Toastmasters, an early conversation in the meeting today was that there are 10 pathways that you can take up. And you may not be on the same path as your target speaker for the day, whom you are evaluating. So the least you can do as an evaluator is go out there and read about that path. Get to know what exactly is the speaker looking to prepare. What are the requirements, the needs from that project speech, so that when you evaluate, as someone said, you have the right perspective towards looking at a speech. You don't want to judge a fish by its ability to fly. And that is exactly what happens even to a lot of project speeches, wherein the evaluators may or may not have the specific objective of that speech right in their heads, and their perspective of evaluation may suffer. So preparation by reading the online resources is a very good way for an evaluator to get ready for the evaluation that they are going to deliver on the day of the meeting. On the day of the meeting, what also helps an evaluator is having a chat with the speaker beforehand. And this is to understand if the speaker has prepared for or has any specific constraints that they wish to address apart from the specific evaluation points of that speech project. For example, I was a speaker who used a lot of crutch words, a lot of fillers, like, yeah, you know, I see, yeah, basically, and you know, that, yeah, so these are filler words. And this happens to us. And this is not really a part of any project speech which tells you, you should use minimum fillers. You're not supposed to use crutch words. But these are certain implicit parts of someone's growth, someone's development at Toastmasters. And if a speaker comes up and if I have a chat with that speaker and he tells me, you know what, Apart from the objectives, I have been using a lot of crutch words recently, a lot of fillers in my speeches. Keep an eye out for that and see if I really reduced and improved on that aspect. Now that conversation also personalizes and customizes your evaluation for the speaker. So it's necessary that we have this casual conversation. The conversation definitely shouldn't be a show me your speech, show me what the text is. I'll write my evaluation before you deliver the speech. That's not how it should be. It should be about, what can I personalize for you? I don't want to make it generic. I want to make it for you. And that conversation, that chat really helps you as an evaluator. The third point is towards clarity. So as an evaluator, when you're observing the speaker, what really helps is if you have prepared some notes for your evaluation, certain template where you're going to note down points for the speaker. Now that template could be generic, but what is suggested is basis your preparation of the online resources of that specific project that you're going to evaluate, you prepare notes. Those notes will help you focus on the perspective of that speech, the needs and objectives of that project, and also the specific points that the speaker has asked you to look out for. And that will ensure that the evaluation, as someone wrote down in the chat window, should be specific. So this will definitely contribute towards the specificity of your evaluation. So this is all about 3 simple points: good preparation towards an evaluation. Any questions? All right. Seems like there are no questions. So we will now move on to the next section of evaluation. This is during the evaluation. Now, there's one.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
I'm Sahil
Yeah.
here. Just wanted to know, suppose, for example, you're just doing a speech title and probably the pathway at the round or the speech title, something like that, or something of that sort. So mentally, how do we prepare notes in terms of what the speaker is going to speak? Because in those 2-3 minutes, I know and I understand that those 5-7 minutes, it's also a very good communication is effective only when listening skills also good, and then we evaluate on that. But as an evaluator, you need a sound in terms of need some mental in terms of just to understand what the speeches are about. How do we go about that?
Okay. So one of the reasons why the agenda typically for a meeting is published a few days in advance is for us to prepare for our roles. And what could help you is if you could reach out to your Vice President Education and ask them for the speech objectives and the details of the speech project that your target speaker is going to attempt, maybe in a couple of days or 3. You may not have all the resources at hand because you may not even be on the same path. So that's when reaching out to your Vice President Education for those notes, for those detailed objectives of the project. These online resources also have downloadable copies for specific speech projects. Reaching out, getting that and reading it through it will definitely help you align to the specific needs of what that speech project is all about. Do you think that would help?
Yeah, it helps in a way because we do get evaluation sheets and titles of we do get evaluation sheets. So that's one way. I just wanted to know, as an evaluator, if I can ask you before the speech, how do you prepare yourself in terms of it's going to be an unknown thing, right? You don't know what the speaker is going to throw. I know the evaluation of this is a project, this is the speech title, but mentally, how do you, before an evaluation or before a speaker comes onto the stage, what are the things you do? It is apart from the resources in terms of how do you prepare yourself mentally to to evaluate a speech?
Go chat with the speaker.
Okay, that's a good. So I think the point that is trying to be made here is I know the objectives, I know what I need to do, and maybe I've had a chat with the speaker too. But what comes as a speech content is going to be completely new. How do I prepare myself in the 5 to 7 minutes to give due justice to that speech content and then put all of my preparation into action and deliver an effective evaluation? Is this what you're asking for about?
Yes, that's what I'm asking. Yeah.
Yes, and that is a fantastic segue to the next section. And that's exactly what we are going to discuss right here. So, as an evaluator, now we really go into the groove of wanting to evaluate someone. So, imagine you are at a Toastmasters meeting or you are listening to anybody on stage. You may be a Toastmaster, you may not be a Toastmaster. And I just told you, hey, just go out there and listen to the person. And then you will be in a mental frame. And the moment I tell you that, hey, you just don't have to listen to the person, you've got to evaluate them and tell them what they need to improve. That's when you go into a groove of complete mode where you want to look at and try to pick out points, what can be improved here. And you go into a very evaluative kind of a mindset. You go into a mindset where you want to just pick out points, be very objective. And how does that affect our efficiency as an evaluator? Let's try and look at it. How many of us are guilty of doing something like this? That we really observe the speech, but at the end of the day, we haven't really enjoyed it because we were very critical and evaluative with our mindset. Has this ever happened to you? That you looked at a speech very objectively because you are an evaluator. Now, what happens here is in the context and pretext of wanting to evaluate a speech, many a times what we let go of is looking to enjoy a speech, looking to absorb as much as possible. The speech is something that we are going to listen for the first time. We are not prepared for it. And if we narrow our lens down to only looking at pointers in the speech objectively and trying to, instead of listening holistically and trying to absorb all the attached emotion in a speech, if we just narrow our mindsets to only certain evaluation points and note them down, we tend to not enjoy the speech. We tend to not enjoy the essence of what the speaker delivered. And that is something which is extremely critical when you are going out there to evaluate. And that's something which is extremely critical to tackle that newness, that challenge of a speech which you've just never heard before. You have your preparation, but you have a completely new content and you just don't know what to do about it. It's surprising. It can stump you. It can be unexpected. And that is granted. That is for granted because at Toastmasters, your evaluations are based on on speeches which you would never hear before, you have never heard before, and you may never hear again. So in those 5 to 7 minutes, if you want to really maximize your efficiency as an evaluator, observe keenly, yes, but not at the expense of enjoying the speech. Enjoy the speech. Try to absorb the speaker, the emotion completely. This will help you ensure that you have completely grasped as much as the speaker wants to convey through that speech, and you don't really miss out on anything. And once you've grasped the essence of the speech is when it's very easy for you to translate all of that into the template that you had made while preparing for the evaluation. But if you are focused too much on the template, chances are that you might lose out on the essence of the speech, and the evaluation that you deliver would be incoherent with what the speaker thought, and they would not really align to your thought process, which would make the evaluation largely fruitless. Now, to translate this into real life, when we want to really evaluate people, or I'll give you an example, when our friends come to us and say, hey, Pramod, I need a suggestion from you. Now, when they ask this, we directly go into a complete advisory mode. We are like, okay, whatever you throw at me, I'm going to give you a solution. So I look at him, her, their points very objectively, and I just answer them very rationally. And they say, no, you don't understand what I'm trying to say. I will repeat myself before you advise again. Have you had those conversations? And that also tends to happen because we go into that evaluative mode instead of trying to completely absorb and listen what the person in front of us is trying to convey. And Toastmasters is a place where we can practice that. Even though you are an evaluator, you are a listener first. You want to completely observe and absorb the emotions that are attached to a speech. And that's something that you got to do. The second thing is making bullet points and avoiding detailed write-ups. So while the speaker is speaking and delivering their speeches on stage, many times we are guilty of writing detailed write-ups on a piece of paper. so as to not miss out on anything while evaluating and referring to that sheet that you made. But while writing those detailed write-ups and sentences, there are chances that you might miss out on a couple of things that are spoken on stage, which could be pivotal to the speech, pivotal to something that the speaker, the person wants to convey. So at this point of time, again, avoiding detailed write-ups and just writing bullet points, which you can elaborate later when you have some time to detail out your evaluation, also helps. This also helps now in our online meetings at work. Whenever now we are connecting with people online, we are asked to present at meetings, make notes at meetings, contribute to meetings, listen at meetings. It's always advisable to make bullet points instead of having detailed write-ups, because things and conversations move so fast that in the process of writing detailed notes, you may miss out on what's being spoken. So that's the second point that really helps. And the third point that has helped me a lot, and it's something that I would strongly recommend, is taking a few moments just after the speech has finished and as the delivery of the speaker is done, before you begin writing the detailed evaluation. Now, what does this what do these few moments do to you? As a speaker, as a listener, as an evaluator, these few moments help you absorb the essence of what was delivered in the last 5 to 7 minutes. And not just absorb that essence, also capture your true reaction/response to what you just heard. So when I close my mind after listening to anyone on stage, there are a couple of things that come to my mind very organically, naturally. What did I love about the speaker? What left an impression? What is the first thing that I recollect about a speaker? What is the first thing I feel, could have been much better? These are your true emotions. These are your true responses. As someone said, evaluation is a perspective, and that perspective has to be honest. And with all due honesty, when you deliver an evaluation, is when people find it credible. And those few moments help you decipher what you honestly feel about a speech, about what you just heard. And if you can translate that into your evaluation notes and deliver an evaluation, that is going to sound much more credible, much more believable, much more specific. And that is, again, something that I strongly recommend. Instead of quickly starting to write notes about, what you've just heard, take a few moments, gather your thoughts, see how you feel about it, and then start your response. If you have to translate this into real life, this is something that you may have already heard, that when you are in conversations, when people ask you for advice, suggestions, decisions, you hear them out, you listen to what they want to convey, you take a few moments and then you respond. And those few moments help you gather your honest opinions, thoughts, structure them, and then deliver. And that is the same. This is something that you can also practice at Toastmasters. Listening to a speech, taking a few moments, gathering, structuring your thoughts, and then detailing out your evaluation on that piece of paper. So these are certain practices that you can adopt while you're observing the speech, which help you be a very effective evaluator. Any questions?
We have received a question actually. The question is, do you recommend using a checklist, especially as a beginner?
Whatever works for you. There is no right answer. As I said, when you've read through the online resources, when you've had a chat with the speaker, you can create your own template for your evaluation to take notes. The template could consist of generic elements like body language, delivery, etc. Or they could contain specific elements of that speech project, whatever the speaker needs to achieve. Or it could be a mix of both. Whatever works for you, whatever you find comfortable to look at and take notes is what works. But having certain notes and making some kind of a template helps. So whether it's a checklist or something generic, it's up to you. There is no specific answer or right answer.
I have one question.
Yes.
So you did mention that, sometimes when we want to note down something from a speech, we tend to not enjoy it, and we get into too much of technicality and criticality of the speech. So my question is that sometimes, as an evaluator, when you want to give them feedback on certain statements, let's say that they could deliver in a better way, so you tend to write down that statement, right? Because you have to obviously narrate it later and say, ki, instead of doing this way, maybe you could have added vocal variety and said it like that. So my dilemma most of the times is that when I note down these statements, I have to like listen to them very, very carefully. And in that process, I cannot really enjoy a speech the way I would have done otherwise as an audience. So I guess my question to you is, how do we maintain that fine line of, of balance between these two, where you also enjoy your speech and, not miss out on these important statements or highlights that you want to include in your evaluation?
So you got to think, as I said, right? If you found a specific statement or something that you wanted to write down, make a bullet point about it that there was a reference made to this, and leave it at that. At the end of the speech, if you are unable to recollect that particular statement, then I guess by default that statement did not really make a lot of difference in the larger scheme of things of the speech. It did not really have that much impact in the speech. It was something very specific where the speaker may have faltered, but it did not really make any kind of an impression or dent in the speaker's delivery that day. But if you do recollect it, which means it really stood out, and that's something that needs to be addressed by the speaker, and you can then detail it out. So make bullet points with certain keyword references. And at the end of the speech, if you recollect the specificities, then it's great. But if you don't, then organically you have to believe that it was okay. Maybe speaker could have fumbled, but it did not really have an impact on the speech.
Okay.
That's how you naturally differentiate the things that could have been different. And what also that does is, and it's a very good question, it helps you pick out points which are actually important and impactful. Your evaluation doesn't become generic, like you should have used a bit more body language, there was no vocal variety. So you're not generic, you're very specific about impactful things. So it helps you do that.
Right. I have one more question, but I think you can choose to answer it either now or later if you'll cover it. I had another question about, there are some topics that are very, very technical or related to a particular niche or an area that, you might not really have a lot of knowledge. So let's say, I'm just giving a very faint example. So there's something about veganism. Now, I know what veganism is, but I don't know the intricate details about it, right? So in that case, I just wanted to know that how do you really evaluate such speeches that are related to very technical aspects? Maybe you can answer it later if you want to cover it.
You can. You know how you can. You have to be very honest to yourself. As a speaker, what is the core intention? Do you believe that you are the audience for that speaker?
Yeah.
And whatever the speaker speaks needs to be simplified for you to understand?
Yes, absolutely.
At the end of the speech, if you were able to not completely or were only able to partially understand what veganism was, would you be able to recommend the speaker what would you have liked to know more so as to understand the topic better?
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
That becomes your evaluation.
Right. Thank you. Very valid point.
Now coming to the delivery of the evaluation. So, okay, a quick check from everyone from the chat box, if you can quickly again write in there. What do you find more difficult during an evaluation? Writing recommendations for the speaker or writing commendations for the speaker?
I think
because I'm going to now quickly patch this question and make it slightly more challenging.
Both.
Okay, now I'll tweak the question a bit and say, what do you find more difficult? What do you find is more honest at the end of the day for you? Are your recommendations more honest or are your commendations more honest?
I would say recommendation.
So if your recommendations are more honest, do you feel that writing commendations is a tougher thought? I think Puneet says it's a very thoughtful question. Yes, Puneet, it is. And it's something that I would want to use as a baseline to the next slide and set of points. It's about honesty. As an evaluator, what should stand apart is your honesty. And that's what makes you credible. And credibility is important simply because evaluations are meant for the speaker. Speaker wants to pick them up and improve. And if your evaluations don't seem credible, honest, trustworthy, etc., the speaker is not going to listen to you. And their growth path is going to stunt at Toastmasters. And it's honest, and this is true everywhere, in relationships, at work, you as a leader, anywhere in the world, whatever you do, that if your evaluations don't seem honest, the person who receives them is never going to follow it. And if they don't follow it, it's going to eventually affect you or the person in their growth path. So how do you make everything that you do honest? If you feel that, recommendations are more honest than commendations, how do you make the commendations honest? And how do we even make the recommendations stronger? So when you deliver a speech, the first thing that I do as an evaluation speaker is try to honestly connect myself to the speaker or the speech topic or whatever was spoken. And it could be anything under the sun, but honest. So for example, I once heard a speech about salsa. Salsa, not the salsa dip, the salsa dance. And I can't dance. I have 2 left feet. So when I came on stage and I started my evaluation, just a sentence, your speech was about salsa, but I can't dance. So, but the passion that you showed on stage when you spoke about a topic that's dear to you reflected in this passion that I have for sports, which I love playing, especially football. And that is something that was very genuine. And I could connect to the passion that the speaker had for something that she loved doing. And that's exactly what helps an evaluator. Again, these are certain good practices that I have followed, and you can choose to have your own style. But I'm here just to share what has worked for me. So this really works for me. It establishes a great connection with the speaker. The person or the speaker gets attentive, now wants to listen to you because they believe that you've connected to what they just spoke about. The speaker could be a travel enthusiast, and you can recollect that even I have traveled Northeast once, as you described in your speech, and that's what got me interested. So let me quickly tell you what I loved about your speech. So those simple connecting dots from a person who may be unknown to the speaker, someone who has just had a short interaction with, is coming on stage and trying to give me evaluation. Who the hell are you? How do I know that you even connect to who I am or what I spoke about? So these 20 seconds really help an evaluator there, make them more credible, make them more trustworthy. And the speaker feels that, maybe this person is somewhere similar to who I am, what I am. So the value of empathy is something that is driven in the first 20 seconds. And if you can empathize through connecting the dots with the speaker or that speech, this is one of the tricks to do it. The next part is commendations, as I said. So what differentiates an honest commendation from a made-up commendation? From a commendation from flattery. 2 different things. Yeah, commendation, flattery is the what and the why. To give you an example, a commendation could be, your speech was amazing, or your confidence was just wow when you came on stage. That's just flattery. But how do you use the same point for commendation? I said, you are amazing because you were well prepared and your preparation reflected in your confidence and the flawlessness of your speech delivery. And that is what made me more attentive to you and interested throughout the 5 to 7 minutes. Now that becomes a commendation. You tell them the what and you tell them the why. What did you like about something in the speech? And why do you think it was nice? It was good. It helped the speaker. So to differentiate a commendation from a flattery is the what and the why, not just the what. Your speech was great. Your preparation was wonderful. Your body language, you tied your hair really well. I loved your shirt. Everything. All of that is flattery. Even in real life, people don't take that seriously. When you have conversations really praising people, flattery and real appreciation is easily distinguishable. And at Toastmasters, you get an opportunity to practice it through the commendations part of an evaluation. The next part is transitioning from commendations to recommendations. And this may be very specific to Toastmasters and how we do it, but to keep things interesting, when you transition from commendations to recommendation, there has to be something interesting written. So you could have something like associated with the theme of the speech. So for example, someone spoke about a road trip. A simple transition could be, the secret to a good road trip is a well-oiled motorcycle. So secret to an amazing speaker is improving every time. So let's see how we can oil your speech and make it better. Simple transitions, catching the speech theme, or some segue like the biggest room in the world is room for improvement. Quirky, yet works, makes it interesting for someone who's listening to you. A short transition keeps your evaluation interesting and less of outpouring of unwanted back-to-back knowledge. Then comes the recommendations. Now, for recommendations, I recommend, and I strongly recommend, that we stick to 2 or 3 points without compromising the what, where, and how. So what is the what, where, and how? Many times we end up giving recommendations like your conclusion could have been stronger in the speech. That's it. Or you should have used more body language. Or your eye contact could have been better. Or I did not feel that your speech was powerful enough. These are generic recommendations. What makes recommendation useful is not just the what, but the where and how to improve. For example, I felt that the what, that's your conclusion, could have been stronger. Right towards the end of your speech, the where, what you could have done is reiterated the specific purpose of this particular speech and highlighted the key points that you are wanting to convey. It would help me easily recollect the essence of your speech as an audience. That's a very specific recommendation, meant to help the speaker understand the what, where, and how. And this is something that, again, at Toastmasters, we get to learn, practice. When people come to you for advice, for directions, for decisions, even as leaders in your personal life, again, I keep repeating it, they want you to empathize, they want you to understand, listen them out, hear them out, and then while recommending, you tell them not just, you know what, you got to improve your performance at work. I think your output is not up to the mark. But are you as a leader telling them how and where can they improve specifically? And why should they improve? But that is quite implicit. So recommendation, keep them up to 2 if you feel you need more time to explain. 3 isn't always needed, but ensure that you make them very empathetic, very specific on what, where, and how. And the last part is the summary or the conclusion of the evaluation, where you just pick out the single best highlight. If you remember, we spent a few seconds right after the speech to recollect what we loved the most about the speaker and the speech. The first thing that came to your mind, that is your single best highlight. That's your honest single best highlight of the speech. And if you can say that out loud and conclude on a positive note, that's where the trick is. So all of this eventually translates to 3 minutes, 15 seconds. And what you could even tell me is Pramod, that, the speaker wasn't up to the mark at all, was completely struggling. What do I honestly tell them? To come up to a stage when public speaking is not an easy thing to do, to practice and to deliver something itself takes a lot of guts. So if we can start with that benchmark in our mind and then look at people, their speeches, that delivery is what is going to give us a larger perspective of someone's preparation and fight that they're willing to take up when they come on stage and deliver speeches. So if you start from there, you're definitely going to find some things about a speaker, about that speech that you appreciate and love. And that's how we come up with honest commendations and the single best highlight on that day from that speaker. So that's how we conclude. So any questions?
Hi Pramod, I had a question. What do you do when you're not sure about the how part in the recommendation? Like you want to give a recommendation on vocal variety, but your own understanding of vocal variety is not that great. So when you hear the speech, you understand that the speaker could have worked on the vocal variety. You can talk a little bit about the where too, but you're not sure about the how yourself.
So when you thought that vocal variety could help the speaker, there could have been something in your mind which says that if they had done something very specific, you would be satisfied, and then you would say that, now the vocal variety sounds good.
But what if that's a very generic comment, like that I felt the speaker should have used more emotion in their voice, but I am unsure about the recommendation myself because I feel I don't have a firm grasp on vocal variety.
So understand this. As an audience, you have firm grasps on everything. As an evaluator, again, because the speaker has to satisfy your needs. And when we deliver an evaluation, we speak for ourselves. We don't speak for the generic audience. We don't speak for any benchmark of ability or knowledge. We speak for ourselves. And if as a speaker, as an evaluator, if you felt that, I thought that when you were maybe speaking, you had a conversation in your speech, you could have shown the happiness through your voice, and you could just use a couple of sentences from the speech itself. Or when you're talking about something very sad in your speech, I saw you smiling. So I thought maybe you could tone down the smile a bit, and by default that would affect the tone of your voice and give due justice to that sad part of your content. That would bring in vocal variety. So you will always have recommendations. It's not about your ability to do it. It's about, as an audience, what do you think the speaker could have done to satisfy you? And whatever you feel is a recommendation and something that the speaker needs to know. You don't have to be an expert to tell them the how. You have to tell them how you feel that could have been done, and the speaker could have benefited for that, and from that, and by doing so, you would be satisfied as an audience. So feel free to express that. You don't have to be an expert.
Got it. Thank you so much.
So we have received a question. It
chat.
says, do you change the manner of articulating feedback depending on the person's personality or openness towards feedback?
Person's personality and openness towards feedback. Now, if somebody's personality floors you, that's a different story. But there are two things you should know. When we're looking at a feedback, we assess the speaker's delivery on that day. The speech delivery, not the speaker as a person, not the past halo of how good a person was or how struggling they were on stage. It's on that day, that speech. And we restrict to that. So by doing so, we will naturally negate the personality aspects. Thus, the personality does have a role to play in the speech. And if it comes across, you definitely comment the speaker for that. But apart from that, nothing about personality. It's about delivery on that day. And then whether the person has ability to take feedback. As I said, if you come up with constructive appreciation, no one's going to feel bad about it. And how do you differentiate a feedback from constructively appreciating someone, or criticism from appreciation or constructive appreciation? Avoid using any words which have negative repercussions, like never, no, you shouldn't, you must. Evaluation is our opinion about something, and we always suggest that, how about you give this a try and see if it helps you? How about you look at a couple of aspects like this and see if that could enhance your speech and make it better? So it's an opinion. And if as an evaluator, we are humble enough and find the right words which showcase humility, and avoid words which showcase assertion, extreme advice, and negativity, it suits any personality. And at the end of the day, even if a person was new to Toastmasters and not too open to feedback yet, at Toastmasters, there's one thing that we always stand by. that whatever happens in a meeting room stays in that meeting room. Whatever you discuss, you take back the good things and leave everything that you felt unpleasant about on that day at that moment, right in the meeting room. Leave it behind. You come out, come out as a better person, as a better speaker, and as a better Toastmaster. So that's how you tackle this personality and personal preferences conundrum.
Right. So also when you're evaluating a speech, the speech could be an all-rounder. It could be perfect in all aspects, or there could just be that one flaw in the speech, right? So if while evaluating, we after we are done, like appreciating and everything, when we want to talk about the points to improve, how do we avoid getting repetitive? Because say the person just lacks vocal variety, and that was the only flaw that I as audience could see in their speech. How do I stop my evaluation from sounding repetitive?
That's a very good question, and this is something that you can use again as a simple trick to beat this confusion. One, evaluation typically should be based on two major aspects of any speech: the content and then the delivery aspects. The content is what the speaker wrote, and it is the root of the speech, it is the stem of the speech. While the delivery, the body language, the voice are the peripheries. So ideally, what I strongly recommend is the first suggestion that we give to the speaker should be on the content. And you will always know somewhere in the deepest corner of your mind, of your brain, that something else could have been added to the content of the speech that could make it better. And what is that something else? For you as a listener, as an audience. And if you can suggest that to the speaker, that becomes your first recommendation. And the second recommendation can always be about the peripheries of the speech. At the end of the day, recommendations are meant to improve the speech. So that is always going to be repetitive. Now, this will improve your speech. But if we want to avoid the repetitive or supposed repetitiveness of our points, we specify them. So by improving this content, this is what you would improve. Maybe you would improve my interest in your speech. By adding humor, I would not disconnect at any point of time and be consistently engaged. Something on those lines. While a strong body language and confident voice would make you sound very well prepared, trustworthy, confident, and believing in your speech subject with a lot of conviction. So that makes me very engaged to your speech and makes me believe you as an audience. And more importantly, help me recollect the message very later at any point of time. So ensure
Right. So
in two parts.
when it comes to evaluating, and you're appreciating and you're giving points to improve. So obviously, as you said, there'll be things in the back of our mind, that will, that we have to speak up about. How do we divide our time in commending and recommending the speaker?
Oh, you just saw the slide, right? So 75 seconds for commendations, 3 commendations, 25 seconds each. Tell them the what, the why. We don't over-explain. We one sentence to the what was done well and why do you think it helped the speaker today. 3 points. And when you recommend, what do you think could be done better, where exactly, and how can the speaker do it? 2 or 3 points, 60 seconds. How does it help you? And what is something that we got to take care of? Especially while recommending, we try to over-explain ourselves because we are trying to be defensive. We want to put it slowly, simply, sugar-coated. And that's what consumes a lot of time. Let's avoid doing it. Let's not even look for a validation from the audience or someone to nod ahead in the video saying, this was a good point. No, you just go out there, you tell them what could be improved, where it could be improved, and how. 20 to 25 seconds for a point, 2 to 3 points, and you walk out of there. Over explaining recommendations is what extends your evaluation beyond the time.
That's true.
One question from my.
I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So, Rupesh here, I just wanted to know that how to avoid much of the technicality while evaluation. I'll give you an example. That means gets a lot of feedback on your voice modulation was not that good. Your your points are not that much good, or your transition was not that good. So those all technicality will be there. But if speaker is able to convey the message, that is from A to B to the conclusion, and he followed all the content rightly, shouldn't we avoid that too much of the technicality into, okay, a speech contains 10 of the different things in one speech, but if he had missed 5 of them, we'll highlight those 5 technicality. But the message was easily conveyed by the speaker to the audience, and audience were able to get those. So should we avoid too much giving technicality feedback on this, or is it required?
As an evaluator or at Toastmasters, we want to make the good speakers better, the better speakers best, and the best speakers flawless. And that has always been the intention. So if you feel that the major critical parts were handled very well by the speaker, but there are still certain creases which need to be ironed, you got to point that out, because that is our responsibility as an evaluator. But while we point out very technical points in a speech for the speaker to improve upon, let us also ensure and be sensitive to the nature of the audience that we are addressing our evaluation to. So we have to simplify even those technicalities so that everybody understands it, least of all the speaker, right? So that is something that you don't need to avoid technicalities, but you have to simplify them while you deliver it as part of your evaluation.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks for it.
So there was this question that I had received, and we mainly focus on avoiding the negative terms, avoiding never, avoiding no, avoiding all the negative aspects. But we never encourage. Encouraging would be the wrong word. But how do we seem more encouraging rather than critical? And what should we use to make our evaluation more encouraging?
The simplest answer to this is have a smile on your face. When you have a smile on your face, and a genuine one, whatever you say, the way you say it, the tone seems friendly, seems empathetic. And then when we also wrap our head around using the right words, the positive words, all of it seems very believable, friendly, trustworthy. But more importantly, it also makes it seem for the speaker that the evaluator really wants to help them out, really cares for them. And mix this together with the chat that you had with the speaker before evaluating them. Mix it together with the next aspect of after the meeting, there are a couple of things that you can do with the speaker. People take you seriously. And that's the trick to it. There is no other trick. There's no complex way of achieving it. Having a smile, positively contributing the right words, avoiding the negative words, and structuring and making your thoughts very clear is something that everyone looks for. There's no rocket science.
That's very true. We are open to more questions. If anyone has more questions, please go ahead and send them.
And
otherwise, we could wind up the session.
Yes. So as a winding up thing, quick 3 points that we do after the meeting as well. We connect with the speaker to again get a feedback for us whether the evaluation points that we made were they of any sense to the speaker. Did they understand it the way you wanted to convey them? There are certain additional points that you may not have mentioned due to the paucity of time, which you may want to convey to the speaker. So having that conversation helps. And most importantly, this is a long-term relationship. We all are a family at Toastmasters, the club, our members. So if there's any miscommunication on how the point was taken or how the speaker felt, clarify that and end on a positive note, because you're building for the future. It's not just a one-off evaluation. So at the end of the day, if you end up doing all of this, that's it. It's going to help us become really powerful evaluators, but at the same time, very effective evaluators, which matters more than we as evaluators be the shining stars on stage. So effective and powerful evaluations is something which encompasses and defines the art to evaluation at Toastmasters.
This was a very enlightening and interactive session. So allow me to briefly restate the highlight of the PowerPoint. So it is best to have a word with the speaker before they deliver the speech in order to get to know them better. Instead of looking for pointers in the speech, it is appreciated to enjoy the speech. That way you have a grasp of the entire speech and you won't be narrow-minded. You can maximize your efficiency as an evaluator, but that should not be at the expense of enjoying the speech. You should also avoid detailed write-ups and focus more on the bullet points because most of us are victims to writing detailed write-ups, and that does not let us enjoy the speech. Honesty is necessary for the evaluation in order to seem more credible, because obviously there's a fine line between honesty and flattery. We should try to empathize in the beginning. That would, make the speaker more comfortable with us, and conclude on a positive note. Try to be more positive so that your evaluations are taken in a more constructive manner. So I believe if we follow the mentioned points, our evaluation game will definitely rise. Personally, I didn't see myself as a decent evaluator. And I noticed that all my flaws were noted in DTM Pramod's speech. I can see myself become a much greater evaluator. And if I believe myself, I will certainly, get more confident. And that will just help in my personal growth. And I believe this applies to almost all of us here. It has been such an honor to have such an accomplished individual, take out time out of his busy personal and professional schedule to share his area of expertise with us. And that was such an enlightening session. And the question answers also, they were pretty educational. I got to learn a lot, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. I'm speaking for all of us. So I would like to wind up the session, and I would hand over the virtual platform to the next speaker.
Sorry to interrupt. I had a question for DTM Pramod, if I may.
Please go ahead.
So what you can do is just write it on the chat window, and I'll reply there so that you can continue the session.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Fariha, for being a wonderful host today. It has truly been a delight to have you address us. Having said that, there's a certain beauty to mastering the art of being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that truly distinguishes a leader. As an evaluator, you are a leader too. You are responsible for influencing the speaker towards growth and improvement, while also being uncomfortable with aspects of not knowing the content of the speech too well to be able to recommend on it, or not knowing aspects of technical elements like voice modulation, or gestures, or eye contact. But despite all that, you get comfortable with the idea of the uncomfortable and still deliver an effective evaluation. Today, DTM Pramod Mohandas empowered us with his insights on how to be a better evaluator. And he did so by not just letting us know the elements we need to incorporate in our evaluation, but also addressing our practical concerns with the really wonderful and interactive Q&A. On behalf of everyone at Andheri Orators and the clubs across who have also joined us today, I wish to thank you for sharing your insights with us. And being a virtual setup, I would now like to present the vote of thanks. So could we please have the Sergeant at Arms share the certificates in appreciation? Thank you so much, DTM Pramod Mohandas. It has truly been an honor to have you among us today. As we end this session, would you like to share any last words on your experience here during this session?
It was an absolute pleasure to be a part of this meeting. I would want to thank Sanchit for inviting me here and giving me a platform to share what I have learned at Toastmasters. This is a manifestation, or the entire presentation is a manifestation of all the mentors, all the feedback that I have received over the last 8 years as a part of being Toastmaster. So it's a pleasure always to speak to new members at new clubs, and I wish to stay in touch with all of you. And beyond everything, thank you so much for having me here and asking all those wonderful questions. Your questions is, I guess, the most valuable part of the meeting and the best takeaway that I have from this experience here at Andheri Toastmasters. So thank you.
Rihanna, you're on mute.
No, she's not. Adriana, you're not audible.
Sorry, am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, DTM Pramod Mohandas, for letting us know that one always keeps learning, even despite being a trainer, because there's always more scope for improvement. And we see that from you, and we see that as a source of being inspired towards doing that ourselves. Having said that, as we end this meeting, I would request everyone to turn on their videos for a group photo. And after that, I would request everyone to sing a happy birthday song for our very beloved, oldest by age, but probably youngest by all of us in comparison at heart, DTM Abraham Samuel. Before that, I would like to request Sergeant at Arms to please take a group photo. Of DTM Pramod, it would be great if we could do the same. We could just quickly take a group photo, and I would understand if we have other commitments thereafter. Thank you so much. Can we get a countdown? Sanchit, if you are taking a photo, could you please give us a countdown?
Yeah. Just waiting for a few more videos to come on. Rupesh, Seema, Yusuf, Kanesh.
Just 2 minutes, guys. It won't take too long. It's good to see happy faces on a Sunday morning. Afternoon, much now, but yes. Could you please have a countdown, Sanchit, and we can move on.
3, 2, 1. Done.
Thank you so much, guys. Let's quickly get on to our. Can you please spotlight Abraham, sir? He's like our showstopper today. Could we spotlight him, please? I can see his video. I just don't seem to find him on it. So Master Purnima, could you please?
Yeah, I have spotlighted him, but I don't think he's there. Can't see him.
Let me get connected with him. Sanchit, would you mind giving him a call, please?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there we have him.
Purnima will be sharing her screen.
Oh, okay,
as
great.
a surprise.
Oh, that's wonderful. Purnima, I leave the stage with you then.
DTM Abraham, we can't hear you on mute. You're on mute.
Oh, I'm unmuted, yeah.
Okay. All right, so brace yourself.
You know, unfortunately or fortunately, I am always busy. Although I am not doing any job, completely retired, but I don't get any time sitting in the house. Right from morning 8 o'clock till about 12 o'clock at the night, I'm busy with somebody on the phone. In between, I spend little time for eating my lunch or dinner. Oh, Adriana is doing something.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Narito na. Wimpo! Okay, pivotara. Tomato? It's your birthday. It's your birthday. Happy birthday to you. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. Happy birthday to ba 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 banana, banana, ba 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 banana, potato, ba ba banana, tokari no potato, rika ni maro manika no chika, ba banana, yopla no fu, lapa no no tu, ma banana, laka mo pitara mo banana, ba banana, potato, banana, tokari no potato, rika ni maro manika no chika, ba banana.
Thank you, my dear Andheri Orators, Toastmasters. I love to be a part of Andheri Orators. With all your enthusiasm, I'm really delighted to be a part of this group.
So this was for the youngest member of the club.
Yes, absolutely. So I think Sanika will agree too that you are still the youngest of all. I don't think any one of us could really match your enthusiasm. So, yeah.
Yeah, I see. God has blessed me with lot of blessings. In life you should have a money, you should have a good house. Now I have both.
So we'll be happy that you are
Sir,
a
आप
part of our
सेंचुरी मारो,
relation.
that is our wish. सेंचुरी मारो और बराबर फुल